Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between Team STL and Intentionally Feeding. On the bottom side of the map, wearing the blue health bars this game, it's going to be Team STL, whose scoreboard I need to move over slightly. There we go. Look at that positioning. In the top lane playing Yorick, it'll be God. In the jungle, playing Zac is Gigi. In the mid lane, playing Kassadin is Jonesy. And in the bot lane, playing the Misfortune Lulu combo, or Otso and Wing Nation. On the top side of the map, in the red health bars, we see them walking in now. In the top lane, playing Jarvan as Darius top only. They're walking in. Otso and Wing Nation getting the synergy wards placing down in the tri-bush. So nothing gained on the quick bottom side invade for Intentionally Feeding. We'll go back to introductions. In the jungle is Hydabear, he's playing Rammus. In mid lane is Beverage playing Corki. And in the bot lane playing Ezreal Thresh are CBD Fister and Dodgers. And this will be an interesting setup. I mentioned in Champ Select, I'll mention it again just for the recording, but I feel like STL got the matchups that they wanted. They have 3 what should be winning lanes, at least eventually. Corki will get a little bit of a shove-in on Kassadin, but if he goes Ninja Tabby, the negation is just disgusting, and Kassadin just won't take any damage from really any of the members of Intentionally Feeding later on. So good matchups pretty much all around for STL, and we've seen Gigi do very well on early ganking junglers, and Zac can do just that, flying over the walls with that elastic slingshot. And I'll be interested to see how Intentionally Feeding are able to try to play around some of those strengths. And both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map and will work their way toward the top side. So we should see some action probably up in this top lane early. Yorick and Jarvan can both scrap with the best of them early on. And here we go. We are already seeing in the bot lane that melee matchup, the Thresh into Lulu MF and Wing Nation and Otso already getting a pretty good shove in. God's getting a pretty good shove in top lane, hits level 2 before Darius top and is able to get a good trade there. Jonesy is the only one getting shoved in, but again, we've mentioned that that's a pretty big scaling matchup for Kassadin. One thing worth noting is that STL doesn't have an exhaust on their side, and that might come in to bite them a little bit later on with Jarvan and Corki and Ezreal doing at least reasonable amounts of damage, and particularly Jarvan able to jump on Misfortune, who doesn't have that built-in escape other than the Summoner spell. Might be a little bit of a hard point later on. We'll have to see how everything develops as both junglers finishing their clear. It looks like Hydabear is going to go for that full clear on Rammus, taking out his entire bottom side and now headed into top, whereas Gigi's going a little bit more for experience, takes out that bot Scuttler and is going to actually head into Hydabear's jungle and take a little peek at our first meeting between the two junglers. We can see pings going down. I'm actually just going to click over here as Beverage goes ahead and pushes them off. So again, this is both teams week 2. They're both running different lineups than last week. We saw STL last week win a pretty close 2-1 series over Vicious and Delicious. And all the games were stomps. We see the death sentence just missed from Dodgers, and another good trade back by Otso and Wing Nation. I don't like the ghoul sounds of that skin. I didn't realize how loud they were. Elastic Slingshot being charged up here for Gigi. I don't think he's going to really get an opportunity to go in on Beverage, though. So yeah, 2-1 week last week for STL. They won games 1 and 3 pretty convincingly, but got stomped the other way in game number 2, and might have a little bit of a playbook out on exactly how to beat them. We're not seeing the picks quite replicated here, but I'm interested to see if that play style of trying to put them behind early comes to fruition. Meanwhile, it was a rough week for Intentionally Feeding last week. They lost 0-2, and just I haven't been able to watch the VOD, but looking at their picks across the board, it seems like their top lane is going to be their point of emphasis. Darius top seems like maybe the strongest player on their team, and they need to try to build around him. And even looking at this team composition, hopefully getting the Jarvan going would do well. Otso's rotating mid, lands the Make It Rain on Beverage. The exhaust coming out, and Heidelbear is also here. This is turning into a 3 versus 2 all of a sudden as the bot lane's roamed up. And going to take a big chunk out, only blowing Corki Summoner spells. Looks like Heidelbear is actually going to keep track of that flash, which is important as that's a big gap-closing tool. He has the power ball, but early on it just doesn't have quite enough speed. You can see that coming relatively far away and are able to walk away. So an interesting roam, nets them a couple summoner spells, but nothing more. Darius getting a good trade. Darius top. I need to come up with a name for him. He gets trapped in the pit though, and the ghouls are really wrecking him. Goes in with the battle pit. God's taken really low, but not down. The ghouls are dispatched as well, and Jarvan comes away safely, but Gigi is here, going to land that elastic slingshot and pick up first blood. So a little bit of an ill-advised all-in, going in without that vision. Gigi's able to make his path up there and get the kill under the tower. God's able to pick up level 6. Big trade in the bot lane now. Death Sentence lands on Otso. He's taken really low. Good polymorph on Fister is going to negate his damage. Ignite burning down on Otso. Couple of summoner spells back and forth as heal and barrier used in exchange for ignite. So positive trade for intentionally feeding. But both members of STL able to escape. Oh, the Death Sentence through the minions. Flake connects with him. Otso's going to go down to an auto attack, but Dodgers falls to the turrets. Teleports in from mid lane now. Well, mid matched by top. Darius is going to cancel that one as Jonesy comes down just to throw out the force pulse. No one saw me look at that. But throws out the force pulse, but not able to really connect on anything other than that. So 1-for-1 trade in the bot lane. Both kills going over to the supports, and that'll allow Lulu to pick up the Ardent Sensor faster, I guess is the big positive out of that, although of course you'd rather see that go over to your AD carry early. Gigi's here in the mid lane, lands the stretching strikes. Jonesy goes in with a Rift Walk, able to get some damage down on Beverage, but the taunt from Heidelbear going to negate a little bit more of that damage from coming through, and basically an even trade in mid lane now, which really isn't good for Corki. Top laners fighting. Gigi's back in, goes in with the stretching strikes, and Jonesy's able to pick up the kill. Heidelbear's here trying to get a return kill. Does land the taunt, but not able to follow into anything. Only level 5 right now compared to the level 6 for Zac. We saw the Zac ultimate being used, but to no avail. Darius top now in trouble, gets trapped inside the pit and is forced to flash away. A lot of action breaking out cross-map. God has that Sheen available, and we can see making good use of that proc so far. The Maiden of the Mist just chunking down onto Jarvan. Maybe DTO, maybe just initials. I'm still not sure what we really want to go with. Ooh, the Battle Pit actually coming out. Corki's here with the package, going to knock him back. God's in retreat, but he's going to pick up the kill with the shovel to the head. A little bit too much, and God picks up the solo kill. And running away from Beverage as well. Should be able to trap him in the pit. The Valkyrie back away is going to disengage. Dodger's taking a big chunk of damage, but Heidelbear's here. Has to negate roll around the minions. Going to land the taunt on Lulu. Ezreal's going to go in with the Arcane Shift. Not able to pick anything up. The Wild Growth comes out, able to save Wing Nation for the time being, and the flash away. Otso doesn't have any mana, but he's trying to chase down. And a lot of ultimates burned. Dodgers wasn't level 6. The only member of this bot lane not level 6. And honestly, that box damage probably would have picked up that kill pretty cleanly on Wing Nation. So, a little bit of a mistimed gank. If you go in with that level 6, looks like it probably is a clean kill. Jonesy going to land the Force Pulse, and look at the trading power that Kassadin has against Corki. Getting a little bit back off of it, gets the Force Pulse again. And even with this low level, the Catalyst is going to allow Kassadin to fight over and over again. The Spicy Dragon going over to Team STL is a nice bonus on the back of everything else, and it's a 4-kill-to-1 lead. About 1,000 gold here early on in game number 1. Now Darius is here landing some autos onto Jonesy. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to threaten him. Doesn't have the Jarvan Jacuzzi available. Everyone backs away. This is a pretty epic battle between Rammus and the blue buff. I think Rammus comes out ahead. But we'll have to watch. Actually, that health bar is getting pretty low. Oh, he has the smite. Okay. We hyped up the big blue buff battle, but it was for naught. So turrets all still up. There are avenues definitely back into the game for intentionally feeding. Trailing right now. But we should see those Trinity Force power spikes come through for Corki and Ezreal, and that's going to be the strongest point that their composition reaches all game. And we'll have to see if they're able to make a mid-game advantage out of it. I'm curious, really quick. It is another Infernal Dragon, so that's going to be really important for intentionally feeding to contest. They should be hitting their Trinity Force right around that point, and if they can parlay that into a big fight at Dragon, they've got a shot. But for right now, it feels like their team's just going to get outscaled unless they can make some sort of big move with that power spike. GG's back in mid lane, going to land the stretching strikes, gets the let's bounce backwards. Beverage is going to flash over the wall, but the Rift Walk and the Flash is going to be able to follow him as Jonesy picks up another kill. Heidebear running away as well. Are they going to dive this? Looks like they're not afraid to. GG not able to land any skills though. Does burn the Flash. And Darius top only doing a good job getting some farm in this rough lane. He is ahead by about 15 minions on the Yorick. Yorick's about to hit that Trinity Force as well, so we could see a lot of these really key first items being finished up, and that's when the game should start to explode one way or the other. But I like this choice by STL. Gonna go ahead and take out the Rift Herald. Jarvan's waiting over the wall. Throws the flag over just for a little bit of vision. Is he gonna go in to try to steal, though? The Maiden of the Mist plus Smite are available. Not that Maiden of the Mist does a particular amount of damage, and yeah, going to be secured. Actually, Jonesy able to secure it. It wasn't the Smite at all. Death Sentence not able to connect for Dodgers with Heidebear in the area. Corki's roaming toward bottom. I don't believe that's a pack. It is a package. Never mind. Flay's going to connect on Wing Nation. He's taken really low and just going to sacrifice himself. Doesn't even blow any summoner spells. Probably the best choice, but a really nice kill picked up for intentionally feeding. And now they have 3 men in bot lane, and Rift Herald pop top. This is a little bit of a race. Oh, that's a... Well, it was a good decision to use the ultimate, but he wasn't able to actually clear all the minions, so it doesn't matter too much on the bullet time. So the first turret's going to go over to intentionally feeding. But the return turret in the top lane, plus they still have the Rift Herald pushing. Rift Herald's still pretty healthy. We could see another turret go down relatively easily. Red team just invading the jungle right now. Jonesy's caught a little bit on the wrong side of everything. But look at the push. The inner turret's already going down. Darius top is here trying to at least delay it. But now the inhibitor turret under fire. GG's going to go in with the elastic slingshot. Let's bounce, knocks him back a little bit, but God not really able to get in range. Stretching strikes connects. He does have that passive. So the bloblets under fire. God's going to flash in and get the shovel down for the kill. Turret's still under fire. Looks like GG's just going to slingshot out of here. In mid lane, the rest of the team's been forced back. All of their recalls were stopped, though, so we haven't seen anybody come back to help. Smite goes down on the Maiden of the Mist to prevent any further pushing, but now mid lane's under fire. And the decision to take that Rift Herald top nets 2 turrets. The mid lane push made another one. And yeah, that's going to go uncontested. The True Shot Barrage is going to come through, but that's just going to tickle the minions. And the macro play from STL nets them a big advantage coming through, extending that gold lead to 3,000. It looked like the right idea to dive bottom, but then the response to the rest of the push was really not there from intentionally feeding, and now in an even tougher spot. This bot lane turret should be the next big target for STL. They have 2 teleports up. Both Kassadin and Yorick have it up. Jarvan's is down right now, so there's that threat in a pretty natural 1-3-1 setup for STL. There are a lot of nice deep wards. I will mention that. Intentionally Feeding got some good vision down in the red side jungle. This dragon is coming up. Do we see Trinity Forces finished? No, Ezreal's finished the Iceborne Gauntlet first, and Corki is a combined cost shy of the Trinity Force. Meanwhile, Duskblade of Drakthar for Misfortune and the Rod of Ages finished up for Kassadin mean that STL spiking harder than the Trinity Force users currently. The Intentionally Feeding just not able to really find that time. That's a good wall of bodies. Ooh, the Mystic Shot almost able to sneak through there, but the smite does go down for Gigi. He's going to go in and initiate, able to catch Fister, knocks Dodgers and Fister back. Darius tops in with the Jarvan Jacuzzi, but Beverage also on the side. The fight is really split now for Intentionally Feeding, but STL able to group up. Double kill for Jonesy as the Kassadin able to Rift Walk over whatever you please. Otso trying to chase down Jarvan now, but not able to finish off that kill. So now 2 Infernal Dragons in the bag, 9 kills to 2, about a 4,000 gold lead. STL's feeling pretty good. And now those big items that we would have liked to see for the dragon fight that we were hyping up come through now. The Trinity Force, now it's finished for Corki. Jarvan looks like he's probably waiting for the end of that Titanic Hydra. Nope, he's going to get a Warden's Mail. But just not hitting that spike correctly, and their team comp suffers for it. And there's the outer tower going down in bot lane, and the push continuing now for STL. One of these days I'll learn what the York W is called. It's Dark Procession. That's not a good name for that ability. I'm never going to remember that. I feel like Wall of Corpses was a necromancer ability in Diablo. I think that's a better name for it. So now we're just going to hang out for a little bit, and we shouldn't see too much happen. Jonesy and Darius doing a little bit of scrapping, but there's no objectives on the map, and it's kind of difficult at 18 minutes to start pushing through those inner turrets without the aid of something like a Rift Herald. So this is going to be the moment where Intentionally Feeding needs to try to get a little bit of deep vision in. If they can engineer a pick, they have some tools available to them with the Thresh. The package comes in for Corki just to back them off the minion wave. They do have 4 here they have all 5 here for a push, and STL's a little bit out of position, but the minion wave evaporates, and it's just not something they can force at this point, being down as much gold as they are. And frankly, the map is pretty black for Intentionally Feeding. They're not able to see where those stray members of STL are. They could have just been hiding over the corner, and it's a Kassadin and a Zac anyway. You don't want to overextend too much into that. GG's going to go in, trying to find Hida Bear. They get a little bit of damage down. The Make It Rain comes through, but... not the Make It Rain, the Bullet Time comes through. Able to do a little bit of chunk damage, but ultimately didn't even get any summoner spells out there, so the engagement felt a little bit forced from STL. But they only burn the one ultimate themselves. And now they're grouped up on top of a ward. Oh, gonna find it immediately. So the really defensive Zac build from GG. We see him go with the Tracker's Knife and the Cinder Hulk into the Locket of the Iron Solari on Zac. Gives his team that whole shield and hopefully enables some of his playmaking, I guess. Meanwhile, still no finished item for Jarvan, and this is interesting. Intentionally feeding, deciding all to go home. They didn't really get super significant items while they were there, and did lose a good chunk on their inner turret for it. But now back to defend. Excuse me. Now back to defend. STL has both teleports up again. And God is in the bottom lane. Probably the only other place you'd really want him right now. They could split Kassadin as well. Kassadin doesn't really contribute to wave clear and can duel Jarvan and Corki. And this is just a really hard ask of intentionally feeding to try to come back in this game. Minion wave shoved in mid, but again, not really anywhere to go. Baron is up now. It exists on the map. Next dragon's up in a minute. It's an Earth Dragon, so another important one to have for either team. But right now STL in kind of this holding pattern in mid lane. And now here's what we've been expecting to see. Now God's in the bot lane, Jonesy's in the top lane, the three-man squad in mid of Otso, Wing Nation, and GG. And now how does intentionally feeding respond to the 1-3-1 split push? Are they going to rotate extra members over anywhere? God just gets a... Actually, that's a really nice chunk out of Beverage. And now Dragon has spawned, and we immediately see the pings going down. Jonesy actually just getting vision over here. Sees Thresh and then hops over the wall, but this will be a completely free Dragon for STL. Now the transition to Baron. This is a little bit better warded. God actually traps all of his ghouls inside of the Dark Procession, so they're unable to get out. And it looks like just a sweep through to secure vision. Intentionally feeding suspects a trap, but these members of STL haven't gone back in a while. We see Lichbane finished up, Yumu's Ghostblade finished up, Eye of the Oasis finished up. Big power spikes coming through for STL, and they're not super well matched. Ezreal sitting on that Manamune now, only about halfway stacked, so we're still a ways away from seeing that big power spike. Corki still probably about 1700 gold. 1700 is a little bit much, but quite a ways away from that Infinity Edge. We do see the item on Jarvan. This back gives them a little bit of time to push. Again, teleport's available. GG set up on the side, gets flayed out of the elastic slingshot, and it's going to deny the engagement. They didn't get the turret either. Ooh, Death Sentence doesn't connect either. So the initiation tools from both teams thwarted. But the push in mid and the push in top coming through for STL. Jarvan and Rammus go to answer top, and the 5 men converge mid. And that's a pretty free inner tower. Hook lands on Jonesy, and now the fight breaks out. Corki's forced to flash away. Now Jarvan comes in. Jarvan Jacuzzi lands on only Lulu. Flash out by Otso as well. God's trying to chase down Beverage, but he's going to get shut down, and Corki picks up the kill. GG got chunked out really early as well. So Jonesy and GG, with the blinking health bars, unfortunately God just a little bit abandoned inside. He still had his flash up, so he had maybe an option to escape, but instead it's actually a 1-for-0 trade, and this is going to be a turret over to intentionally feeding as well. But the death sentence landing onto Jonesy allowed an opportunity for Ezreal and Corki to free fire on him for just a second, and that was enough to swing that fight in their favor. No damage output really from Kassadin. All he could do was run away. Gigi was kind of running, almost running deflection inside. He wasn't able to get any of that huge crowd control off, and God kind of left on one side of the fight, not able to track down the Corki. So, teamfight win for intentionally feeding. They're trying to set up something around this Baron. They steal away the blue buff, which is better than nothing. Death sentence doesn't land. And now both teams playing it a little bit slow, as the tension builds around this Baron. Oh, so it looks like maybe trying to bait, or perhaps unaware that the word was there. I guess we're just going to recall for the time being. So, about a 4,000 gold lead right now for Team STL. A little bit less than that, about 3,800. And the tower's 5-2 in favor of STL. But that mid turret's a big one to go down. If you're able to get that secure push in mid lane, you can start to really set up your vision around Baron and start to make that an objective. There's a way to to turn this around, especially if they're able to get some nice picks. GG sees the members of Intentionally Feeding walk in and will calmly leave. Now the fun vision game. Dodgers takes a big chunk. He lands the death sentence onto Misfortune right into the taunt, but no one's there to follow up. Fister looks like off in mid lane clearing out some minions, so only 4 members there for Intentionally Feeding, and probably wisely choosing not to take that particular fight, especially with the vision around as dark as it was. They could have been jumped on by a Zac or a Kassadin from an angle they didn't quite expect, and it might have turned out badly, so I like the choice not to engage there. Now STL is going to start up that Baron. Oh, Jonesy attacks the ward, so now there's implicit knowledge of it for Intentionally Feeding. Baron chunked down to about 5,000. Heidelberg comes in, he gets trapped in the Dark Procession. Going to take the Lantern back out. Jonesy jumps in, takes a chunk from the Baron, and was it leashed by Maiden of the Mist? Is the Baron still low? It is. It's still at 5,000. Intentionally Feeding, burning this down. Dodger's trying his best to keep Zac away from the pit. Jonesy jumps in. And this is just a mess. The Baron's down to 3,000, but Heidelberg's taken so low. Bullet time comes through. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage as he's knocked up immediately by Darius Top. Darius is now in, trying to fight 3. On the other side, Zac's able to clean up 1. Double kill now for Jonesy. Dodger's trying to run the opposite direction as Fister on the other side of the fight, also running away. Dodgers looks like he's going to go down. Ezreal should get out for now. Teleport going bottom for God, it looks like, to try to keep that push going, and he will get the inner turret there. Dragon spawns in 1 second as well, and that was a little bit of a messy fight, but that's where Kassadin's going to thrive. Kassadin and Yorick able to separate it out. Yorick able to get right on top of the Corki and take him down. Kassadin able to clean up the backline, and the inhibitor turret now under fire. Heidelberg gets a taunt onto God, but it's not going to result in anything, and now he's in all alone, able to flash away with that power ball on, but the inhibitor turret goes down. The package comes through, and now the duel between Jonesy and Beverage. Some members here to join. The kill does get picked up for Darius Top. GG's in still. He manages to pick up a return kill on Beverage, but goes into the Bloblets himself. And we'll see who they give that over to. It looks like Darius Top's going to pick up that second kill. A little bit of an overstep there by Jonesy. It cost him his life, and that's a big shutdown now. 7-1 on the Kassadin. Again, I'm going to call out the choice of going the cooldown reduction boots in this situation. You go the Ninja Tabby and you reduce a lot of damage, but I don't know that it particularly matters in that individual fight. But now, 3 members here. Bullet time comes through, the smite is secured, and Otso flashes away and pays for it with his life. He tried to get the steal with the bullet time, winds up paying for it as well. So good response by intentionally feeding, able to pick up 2 kills and the Ocean Dragon off the back of it. And now Baron back to being the only real worthwhile objective on the map. Wing Nation and Jonesy coming in. They find Dodgers. He is really just by himself. Fister's just kind of over the wall, but they're going to get the flash out of the Thresh. I think they have vision of Darius Top over there in their red side jungle. Ooh, Baron is chunking out the Lulu. Baron is not a very nice man when you make him angry. But still the gold incrementally increasing up to about 5,000 now for Team STL. And intentionally feeding still just have to find a way to claw back into it. I like what they've done with the vision. They've been contesting vision continually throughout the game. They've been able to go through and get a couple of nice sweeps of the Baron Pit and the Dragon Pit and secure themselves at least that little bit of a foothold so that they haven't just completely lost fights and lost objectives for free. And this is a nice little push. I don't think it's going to be answered. Yeah, going to cancel that Elastic Slingshot, just going to give up the turret. That's absolutely the correct decision with Otso off on the other side of the map. And just the incremental advantages. They know they have the blast cones. They're a little bit safe doing this invade. They find GG. Otso's right over the wall. Gets a big bullet time off, but it's immediately canceled by the death sentence. The fight breaks out. And Darius Top doing a lot of damage in the backline, but God is here trying to defend. Otso going to go down to Darius Top. Meanwhile, on the back end of the fight, everybody's just kind of died. We were focusing so much on that one side of the fight. They lose MF and Lulu, but the entire backline of theirs was killed by Jonesy and Gigi, and so it's 4 for 2 in favor of Team STL. Dodgers is over the wall. Is this the big Thresh steal? Gigi's taking a lot of damage. You don't want to stand behind Baron. Now they know he's there. Death sentence lands. They're going to stop damage. And now the burst, and Jonesy's actually going to pick up the Baron. So Baron over to STL. And about an 8,000 gold lead for them at 33 minutes. And now the reset up. They have a naked inhibitor in bot lane, and the inhibitor turret standing between them and their ultimate goal in mid and top. Again, we haven't seen them really abuse this teleport advantage other than some kind of small pushes. But Jonesy and God both have teleport up. Darius Top does as well, but that's still the ability to stretch, and this is the setup that we want to see. Jonesy headed up top, God headed down bottom. If they can get some nice deep vision here, they'll be relatively safe, especially with the Baron minions. They'll eventually get something out of this unless there's just a huge 5-man collapse from intentionally feeding. Beverage does have that package available. He's tried to make a couple of plays. They haven't panned out particularly well, but I've liked the idea behind them. No God. 2 members hovering down here. It's both of the solo laners. Beverage and Darius come in. The flash from God right on top of Beverage. He's actually not going to be able to Valk out of the pit. The Sterix gauge pops and gives him a huge shield, and the kill picked up for God. Is he going to pick up the 1v2? Darius Top running away, going to be able to land that on. GG and Otso rotate over, and they're going to pick up the kill. Meanwhile, Jonesy's gotten a clean turret in top lane for himself. And God able to win the 1v2. GG and Otso slide over to assist. And now the base is in shambles. Both inhibitor turrets going down. Bottom inhibitor's gone. Top inhibitor's under fire by Jonesy. God not able to lock anybody up with a dark procession. GG's called from intentionally feeding. I don't think it's quite over yet, but well, now it is. Heidebear going to go down as well to the bullet time. God picks up his 6th kill of the game. There's so many minions in the base, and that's going to be the first Nexus of the series going over to Team STL. So really decisive mid-game play from Team STL. We saw a lot of their strength and their decision to take some of those fights. Intentionally feeding, I think, had they stalled just a little bit longer, they would have hit that big power spike with Corky finishing the Trinity Force, with Darius Top finishing that Titanic Hydra, and they might have been able to take a fight at that point, but they chose it just at almost... It was almost the right time, but they didn't quite wait long enough, and instead swung a lot of gold over to STL. Pretty decisive Baron take by them as well, and translates into a victory in game number 1. So this is a best of 3, so we'll head into game number 2 in just a couple of minutes. Thanks for watching. This is League KC, casted by Meristematic, and we'll be right back. Oh, you all want a Game 1 MVP. I'm going to go with God. STL God. Especially with the 2v1 at the end of the game, but able to win his lane pretty securely and translate that pressure into good things for his team. His Dark Processions were able to trap some really key members, like even able to trap Corky inside his Valkyrie range. So yeah, we'll head to game 2 in just a second.